Today, let's take a look at your urine composition, your collection, as well as preservation of your urine. Okay, again, under this, we will take a look at the components of your urine. Of course, you have here your organic and inorganic components, as well as the collection methods employed to obtain a urine sample, as well as, of course, your urine samples. And then preservation methods like the use of your physical methods, the refrigerator or refrigeration of your urine, as well as your chemical methods, the use of chemical preservatives in preserving your urine sample. For urine, it is readily available. Your urine, it is readily available. It is easily collected. Okay, it is easily collected. You know that you do not need expensive materials to collect a urine, or you do not need expensive uh, supplies to collect a urine. You do not need an expert to collect a urine. You do not need invasive procedures to collect a urine. Okay, what you need to do is to simply just give your patient a good, clear instruction, and then you're good to go. Okay, of course, the patient will later on bring you a urine sample. Okay, please note that your urine is the end product of ultrafiltration of the plasma. Okay, your urine is an ultrafiltrate of plasma. It is an end product of ultrafiltration of the plasma, reabsorption, and then secretion in the renal tubules. Okay, this urine contains information about many of the body's major metabolic functions. And yes, somewhat it has what you call this, your urine carries metabolites again, that it has metabolites that gives you a snapshot of your body's function. Okay, and so let's take a look in case of carbohydrate metabolism. Okay, in case of carbohydrate metabolism, your glucose, the presence of your glucose and urines, I mean in the urine, as well as the presence of ketones in the urine, will say something about your metabolism. What about your protein? In case of the metabolism of your protein, the presence of, or the uh, uh, the values of urea, the values of amino acids, as well as the values of ammonia will what you call this, provide information about your protein metabolism. Same with the lipid metabolism. The presence of ketone bodies in your urine will provide an information about the lipid metabolism that is taking place inside your body. Okay, what else? Bilirubin, urobilinogen, the presence, or yes, the deviation of these substances, uh, the deviation of these substances against the normal values will give you an information about your liver function, about the liver. What else? Uh, Blood cells like leukocytes, such it will give you an inflammation about your immunity. Okay, and then of course casts, presence of casts in the urine, I mean also proteins and cells. Okay, it will give you an information about the integrity of your glomerulus, as well as the integrity of your renal tubules. Aside from that, your urine, what do you call this? Your urine helps in the diagnosis of diseases. Okay, it helps in the diagnosis of diseases, or performing routine urine analysis will help in the diagnosis of diseases. Okay, and so please note that diabetes mellitus, or urine analysis, can detect okay, glucosuria and ketonuria, or glucose in the urine and ketones in the urine, which are related or hallmarks accordingly of diabetes mellitus. So what else? In case of UTI, of course, your urine has information that will has information about this that will lead to the diagnosis of UTI, like bacteria present in the urine. What else? Presence of WBCs, ganon. Nitrites also. Okay, and then aside from that, of course, you have your liver disease. Okay, and so liver disease can be diagnosed using urine analysis. If there is an increase in bilirubin or yes, increase in bilirubin, then it may something, it may say something again about the liver. And yes, your urine is utilized to screen asymptomatic individuals of undetected disease. Okay, and so you have what you call this conditions that are detected through routines urine screening like early diabetes. Okay, and so because again, uh, prior to your signs and symptoms, so probably okay, and so prior to the appearance of your signs and symptoms of a disease, there are metabolites that are uh, produced. Okay, and these are utilized as markers of the disease. Example, in case of diabetes. Okay, and so of course hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia is seen first before, yes, hyperglycemia is seen first before its classic, its signs and symptoms, the signs and symptoms of diabetes. That is why uh, your hyperglycemia will cause uh, appearance of glucose in the urine. Okay, and so that is in case of diabetes mellitus. What else? Okay, and so early kidney disease. Okay, examining the urine. Okay, and so we'll give you an information about early kidney disease. Okay, so like in case of microalbuminuria. Microalbuminuria, okay, is a marker for early kidney disease. What else? Hypertension, okay, related damage of the kidney. Okay, and so those are what they call these conditions which are detected through routine screening. Okay, and so please note that the concept of your annual physical exam, the concept of your annual physical exam is this one, is to screen your asymptomatic individuals of undetected disease for early detection. Okay, and so that is why urine analysis is included or is part of annual routine or annual physical exam for employees. Okay, and so because again, please note your urine, it gives you a snapshot of your body's metabolic function, of your body's state of homeostasis or your health. Okay, it gives you a snapshot of your health in general. Anyway, your urine is utilized to monitor effectiveness of therapy and progress of diseases. Of a disease, of course. Okay, and so again, classic example, in case of UTI, okay, and so you were diagnosed of UTI, your doctor will and you are diagnosed with UTI, and you were told to undergo antibacterial medication, and then after a span of time, your doctor will request a repeat urine analysis. Okay, and so the repeat urine analysis is utilized to monitor the effectiveness of therapy. In that case, dapat po mawawala ang bakterya. Okay, na nakita previously or mawawala ang leukocytes. Ganun po dapat.
Okay, in monitoring. And then, what else? In management of diabetes, 'di ba? In management of diabetes. Okay, and so if what you call this, urine analysis is utilized to check, okay, and so of course, to check the effectiveness of therapy. No, if persistent pa rin ang glucose in the urine, then it means, then the therapy is not effective. No, if consistent or persistent pa rin ang ang glucose in the urine, then the treatment targeting diabetes is not effective. Okay, and then hypertension. Okay, and so hypertension, what else? Okay, and so what do you call this? In case of liver disease, okay, of course, treatment of your liver disease, dapat po bababa ang bilirubin levels. Ganun sana. Okay, and so that is for your, what do you call this, urine. Okay, and so urine pa lang po yun. Anyway, I lifted this image from Branzel. Okay, and so showing you your what you call this urine fountain of information. Of course, okay, and so your urine will give what you call this information about your carbohydrate metabolism, as what we said earlier. Okay, and so you have the glucose, presence of glucose, ketones, ganyan. Okay, it will give you an information about your blood, about your urinary tract, about in liver disease, about your liver, sorry, about the kidneys and the rest. Okay, and so yes, again, please note, it will give you a snapshot of your health in general talaga. Okay, and so please note ha, snapshot lang po. Oh, snapshot lang po. Okay, and so hindi po yung sobrang-sobrang detalyado. So you have your urine components, the components of your urine. For your urine composition, of course, it is 95 to 97% water, meaning it is water in general. Anyway, your solutes is 3 to 5%. Okay, 3 to 5%. And this one is approximately 60 grams of total solids in 24 hours. Please note po, it is 6 grams. Of course, the concentrations of various solutes varies, and the concentration of your various solutes is influenced by dietary intake, physical activity. Okay, and so dietary intake, of course, if you have increased salt, yes, if you have increased salt intake, then of course, it will also be reflected in the urine. There will also be an increase uh, salts in the urine. Okay, and physical activity. Okay, and so let's say for example, in case of urea, on case of creatinine. Okay, your creatinine, your creatinine is a degradation product, or a metabolite of phosphocreatine from that is from your muscle. Okay, and so exercise will release creatinine. Okay, and so if there is an increase of physical activity, there will also be an increase in the creatinine levels. Okay, increase in creatinine levels in the blood, causing also an increase in the creatinine levels in the urine. Okay, what else? Body metabolism. It is influenced by body metabolism. Okay, and so if you are not functioning well, if you're not metabolizing glucose really well, then probably uh, it will. Okay, and so glucose will increase in the urine. Okay, and then of course endocrine functions, your aldosterone, your what do you call this, antidiuretic hormone, okay, will affect the concentration of your analytes or your various solutes in the urine. And then of course body position, like let's say for example, in the case of orthostatic proteinuria. Okay, and so body position is a cause of the proteins in the urine. Okay, anyway, substances in the urine. Okay, you have here your urea. And then, of course, you have your uric acid, uric acid, creatinine, carbohydrates, pigments, fatty acids, mucins, enzymes, and hormones. By the way, the organic substances in the urine accounts for 35 grams. And then, your urea, it is the major inorganic component, accounting to 60 to 90% of your total organic substances. Okay, and then you have your inorganic substances, which is 25 grams. Okay, and so of your total dissolved uh, solids, no? Your inorganic substances, okay, and so of course you have chloride, sulfate, sodium, phosphate, ammonium, magnesium, calcium. Okay, and so in this case, the major inorganic component of, present in the urine is chloride. Okay, and so it is actually chloride, followed by sodium, and then, yes, followed by sodium. No? Your chloride, again, that is your major inorganic component. Your principal salt present in the urine is sodium chloride. Again, sodium chloride is your principal salt. Your chloride, that is your major inorganic component. Sinusundan lang po ni sodium. Okay? And so that is for your inorganic and organic substances present in the urine. Your urine volume. Your urine volume, usually this one is not really reported in the laboratory. Okay, and so bakit? Kasi hindi naman po siya kailangan. Okay, and so there are tests wherein we report urine volume. But for routine urine analysis, hindi po siya. It is not reported because again, portion lang po. In routine urine analysis, we only need a portion of the urine. Okay, and we require a midstream clean catch urine. Okay, and so in case of 24-hour urine collection for creatinine clearance test, we utilize we measure the urine volume voided in 24 hours. Okay, sa ganun po, full collection po ang ginagawa natin. Walang tinatapon, walang midstream na sinasabi kapag 24-hour urine collection for creatinine clearance. Anyway, your urine volume is dependent on the amount of water excreted by the kidneys in response to the body state of hydration. Okay, sorry, your urine volume depends on the amount of water excreted by the kidneys in response to the body state of hydration. Okay, please note that your urine volume is influenced by, sabi ko last time, you have two major influencing factors to your your urine output or to your urine volume. Okay, water intake or fluid intake, and then the other one is the your antidiuretic hormone. Please note, pakitandaan po that if you have increased water intake, dapat po mataas din. There should also be an increase in water output. There should be an increase in urine volume. Okay, and so fluid intake, of course, if mababa ang fluid intake mo, then your urine volume is low naman. Okay, and so yes, fluid loss from non-renal sources. Okay, and so will influence your urine volume. Example, excessive perspiration. Okay, and so fluid loss from non-renal sources. Vomiting. Okay, ayan, non-renal sources po itong mga to, ha. What else? Diarrhea, 'di ba? Nagkaroon ka ng diarrhea instead na iihi mo napupunta na sa tae, 'no? Perspiration. Okay, and so yes, again, perspiration in case of a humid weather, 'di ba? Mainit ang panahon. Usually, okay, and so malimit pong nagpe-perspire ang isang tao kapag gano'n, 'no? Okay, and so it is actually I observe this one every time that I go on a hike. Okay, every time that we go on a hike, especially kapag especially if the trail is not shady. Okay, and so in somewhere, let's say for example in Zambales, okay, or in Tarlac, or yes, or in Pampanga, ganyan. Okay, and so for the whole duration of 18 or 17-hour hike, mapapansin ko is I urinated I mean, 3 to 4 times lang. Okay, and yes, of course, okay, and so the water is lost due to through perspiration. Okay, what else? Uh, Variations in ADH secretion. Okay, and so again, if variations in ADH secretion. Okay, and so general rule, if there is an increased ADH, it will cause what they call this, if there is an increased ADH secretion, it will cause reabsorption of water, causing decrease urine output or decrease urine volume. If there is a decrease, if there is a decrease in antidiuretic hormone levels, then it will, uh, then of course, it will not, what you call this, it will not cause reabsorption, okay, of sodium somewhat, no, or it will not cause reabsorption of water. And yes, there will be an increased urine output. Okay, increase ADH. Okay, again, increase ADH, decrease urine output. Decrease antidiuretic hormone, increase urine output or urine volume. Okay, and yes, this one, your need to excrete increased amount of dissolved solids will also also influence your urine volume. Please note that, okay, and so increased salt intake and high protein diet will require more water for excretion, or ito na lang po, pakitandaan kung nasaan ang sodium, andun ang tubig. So, somewhat susunod siya. Okay, and so but then in the context, increase salt intake and increased protein in the diet or high protein diets will require more water for excretion of the solutes. Okay. So you have here your variations. Okay, variations, variations in urine volume. First on the list is oliguria. Oliguria, that is, according to Bransell, it is oliguria is what they call is less than. The urine volume is less than 1 ml per kilogram per hour in infants. Okay, it is less than 1 milligram. Sorry, 1 ml, 1 milliliter per kilogram per hour in infants. Okay, what about for children? It is less than 0.5 ml per kilogram per hour. And in adults, it is less than 400 ml per day kapag adult. Okay, and so with this one, your oliguria is commonly seen in dehydration due to excessive water loss from vomiting. Okay, and what else? Diarrhea, perspiration, or severe burns. Okay, and so that is for oliguria. In case naman, your oliguria is also seen in acute renal failure or chronic progressive renal disease. Okay, that is your oliguria. Your anuria, okay, and so your oli kasi 'di ba? Dito is oli is what you call this few, parang gano'n. Your anuria, the prefix a here means none or absence. Okay, and so anuria, it is what you call this the what you call this for your the near complete absence. Okay, your anuria is the near complete absence of urine. Okay, please note ha that we are basing it on a 24-hour sa isang araw. The near complete absence of urine in one day. Okay, and so your anuria may result from any serious damage to the kidneys or from a decrease in the blood flows to the kidneys. Okay, and so decreased blood flows to the kidneys in case of hemorrhage, severe hemorrhage, or excessive bleeding. Kunyari na-aksidente po si pasyente or na-aksidente siya. Okay, so nagkaroon ng excessive bleeding. It will cause a decreased blood flow to the kidneys. Okay, what else? Okay, and so, uh, obstruction, complete obstruction. In case of kidney stones, ganyan. Complete obstruction in case of kidney stones or in case of cancer. Ayan, in case of cancer. And then, toxic agents that will eventually cause renal disease or renal failure. Okay, that is for anuria. Okay, and then you have your polyuria. Polyuria. Okay, and so polyuria. According to Henry, your polyuria is what do you call this? Greater than 200 ml of urine per day. Okay, you're excreting greater than 200 ml. Sorry, it's 2,000 pala. Okay, it's 2,000 ml of urine per day. Pero ang sabi niya kasi kay Branzal, I mean kay Strass. Sorry. Sabi niya kay Strass. Okay, it is greater than 2.5 liters per day in adults and greater than 2.5 to 3 ml. Okay, and so 2.5 to 3 ml per kilogram per day in children. Again, kapag matanda, according to Strassinger, it is greater than 2.5 liter, 2,500 ml per day. And then kapag bata, it is 2.5 ml to 3 ml per kilogram per day. But then, according to Henry, polyuria is greater than 2,000 ml of urine per day. Okay, and so what you call this, your polyuria is often associated with diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. Okay, and so polyuria actually is one of the classic signs of diabetes mellitus. Okay, and so often associated. Please note, polyuria of polyuria in diabetes mellitus, you have increased specific gravity. While for diabetes insipidus, you have a decreased specific gravity. Of course, the color of the urine is lighter, and then for diabetes mellitus, it is darker. Okay? But then, yes, please note, it may be artificially induced. It may be artificially induced. Your polyuria may be artificially induced. And then, of course, you have nocturia. Yes, later on. Okay, and so in the next slide, we will take a look at what we call this, the causes of your polyuria. No? Okay, and your nocturia. Sorry, your polyuria artificially induced by diuretics, your caffeine, or your alcohol. Or, yeah. Okay. And then you have nocturia. Nocturia here is what they call this. You have greater in nocturia, you have greater urine output during the night time. Accordingly, you have greater urine output during the night time. Generally, sa gabi, okay, and so the urine will not exceed 400 ml. Okay, and so normally okay, kapag gabi, the urine output will not exceed 400 ml sa gabi. Okay, during the night time. And accordingly, the specific gravity is less than 1.018. That is for nocturia. Okay, and so, but then, sorry, that is normal. Okay, and so, ulit po, your nocturia. Okay, and so, I mean, normally, during the night time, okay, urine output will not exceed 400 ml. And the specific gravity is less than 1.018. That is for the normal one. But then in case of nocturia, okay, and so it is reversed. Okay, mas marami kang ihi sa gabi kumpara sa daytime. Okay, in nocturia, the kidneys normally excrete 2 to 3 times more during the day. But then, during nocturia, of course, it is reversed. Okay, it is reversed. Okay, it is reversed. No? So, your nocturia, it is usually seen in pregnancy. Nocturia, accordingly, is usually seen in pregnancy. And yes, nocturia is common in elderly, accordingly. Nocturia is common in elderly. Okay, and so by 8 years of age in both sexes. Kapag sa mga matatanda, it's common in elderly, in older individuals. Okay, and so normal daily volume is 600 to 2000 ml, and then normal average daily volume is 1200 to 1500 ml. That is for your daily volume. Pero polyuria pa rin po tayo. So you have your diabetes insipidus. This one is caused by defective hormonal regulation. Okay, the primary hormone affected here is antidiuretic hormone. So in diabetes insipidus, it is either due to antidiuretic hormone deficiency or your tubules are unresponsive to ADH. The receptors in the renal, the receptors to your ADH in the tubules are not responsive. Okay, so in diabetes insipidus, there is this polydipsia. Okay, and so polydipsia, that is of course, if there is an increase, you water intake, okay, there will also be an increased excretion or increased urine output. Okay, and so that is for diabetes insipidus. There's polyuria, polydipsia, of course, polyuria, and nocturia is also seen in diabetes insipidus accordingly. And yes, for diabetes insipidus, individuals with diabetes insipidus, of course, they have an increased urine volume with low specific gravity. And uh, accordingly, in diabetes insipidus, so someone with diabetes insipidus can excrete up to 15 liters of urine per day. Up to 15 liters of urine may be excreted per day. Okay, and then you have diabetes mellitus. Okay, diabetes mellitus. Okay, and so of course, your diabetes mellitus, there is this polydipsia. Okay, and polyuria. There is polydipsia and polyuria. Pakibalikan po kanina, increased solutes needs increased water for excretion of the solute. Okay, and so that is the concept I presented earlier. If there is an increased solute, you need increased water for the solute to be excreted. Okay, and so in diabetes mellitus, you have excessive excretion of glucose, or you have hyperglycemia. Okay, and then of course, hyperglycemia, it exceeded your renal, the glucose exceeded that the renal threshold. That is why it is excreted in the urine. Glucose is excreted in the urine. And yes, okay, and so uh, increased solutes will need water for excretion. Okay, and so you have what you call a solute diuresis here. Solute diuresis is what they call this caused by, or diuresis is defined, or the term is defined as an increased urine output that is caused by the presence of large amounts of non-reabsorbable or poorly reabsorbed solutes in the renal tubules. Okay, and so yes, increased solutes, again, so needs increased water for them to be excreted. Okay, and so that is for your diabetes mellitus. That is why there is an increased urine volume also in DM. And then impaired renal salt or water reabsorption. Okay, and so impaired renal salt or water reabsorption, that is probably due to diuretics, abnormality in the renal tubules, or impairment of your countercurrent mechanism. Okay, and so impairment of your countercurrent mechanism. So let's take a look at the abnormality in the renal tubules, or what we call this impairment of your countercurrent mechanism. Please note that in chronic kidney disease, the number of functioning nephrons decline. Okay, and so there is a steady, actually, sabi nga ng mga references, there is a decline, okay, in your functioning nephrons. So what will your functioning nephrons do? Okay, and so kasi nga nababawasan sila ng nababawasan ng functioning nephrons, so marami na ang namamatay. Okay, the remaining functional nephrons must again double, okay, and so double their effort. Okay, they must double their effort to handle, okay, an increased load. So again, the remaining nephrons must handle all of the daily filtered solute and the water load. Okay, so what will happen? Okay, and so your, what you call this, there will be an increase in a solute excretion per nephron, as well as water excretion per nephron in case of chronic kidney disease. Please note that this one, increased solute excretion and increased water excretion per nephron, will cause a higher flow rate through the remaining tubules. Okay, it will cause a higher flow rate through the remaining tubules. Okay, and so, yes, in your impaired concentrating ability, your countercurrent mechanism or impaired countercurrent mechanism, please note that your medullary interstitial gradient is lost in this case. Bakit? Please note again that your renal medulla or the medullary interstitium, it is hyperosmotic. Okay, it is hyperosmotic. Okay, it is hyperosmotic. So, in case of chronic kidney disease, there is the loss of the gradient in the medulla. Okay, and so balikan po natin. If fewer functioning nephrons will cause a reduction in the sodium and chloride as well. I mean sodium chloride po yun Okay, it will fewer functioning nephrons will cause a reduction in the sodium chloride and urea delivery to the medulla. Okay, it will cause again a reduction. Okay, kasi nga mas unti, mas unti na siya. Okay, so mas unti ang nephrons, then mas unti na din ang na ibibigay sa sa medullary interstitium na solute, na sodium chloride and urea. Okay, and so causing an inefficient in the countercurrent multiplier system. Okay, of course, if you try to remember your countercurrent mechanism, this one, we learned that this is important in concentrating the urine. It is important in concentrating the urine. Okay, and so that is for your polyuria. And then let's move on to your specimen collection. Specimen collection, your the first thing you need to do is to provide a clear instruction to the patient. Okay, clear instruction. Of course, kapag clear po, you should be able to grasp the understanding of the patient. Baka naman, English ka ng English. si ma'am and sir pala, hindi pala sila nakakaintindi ng English. Okay? Tagalog ka ng Tagalog. Tapos, si ma'am and sir pala hindi pala nakakaintindi ng Tagalog. You know, I experienced this before. Okay, and so we have this patient. Okay, I remember they are uh uniform personnel. Okay, they are uniform personnel. Okay, and yes, I was actually conversing with them in the local dialect. I was conversing with them using our local dialect, the Ilocano of Baguio. Okay, but then, good thing na ininform ako. Good thing na ininform ako, "Sir, Tagalog po, hindi po nakakaintindi ng Ilocano." 'No? Okay, and so yes, and this of course, okay, and so I instructed them using Tagalog. Anyway, of course, a clear instruction, okay, and so is important. Alalahanin po natin that not all of our patients are able to understand English, or not all of our patients can understand Tagalog or whatever. Okay, yes. And consider also individuals who cannot hear yung mga bingi. No. Anyway, okay, and so your sample container should be clean. Okay, and so please note po ha, for routine urine analysis, it should be clean. Okay, clean lang. Clean is enough. Okay, for routine urine analysis, it should be clean. Clean lang po. Okay, but then, in case of bacteriologic studies like the doctor requested for gram stain, okay, the doctor requested for gram stain and culture and sensitivity, then you make use of sterile. You make use of sterile. What if the doctor requested for routine urine analysis, gram stain, and urine culture and sensitivity? Okay, of course, one sample is enough, collected in a sterile container. One sample is enough, collected in a sterile container, okay, for routine urine analysis, uh, gram stain, and urine culture and sensitivity for one patient. Okay, ano pong gagawin? Hiram-hiram na lang, hingi-hingi na lang po ng sample. Okay, of course, mauuna. Okay, in that case, if the doctor requested for urine analysis, gram stain, and culture and sensitivity, unahin po natin sa bakte. Bakte po muna to avoid contamination, to avoid gross or contamination. Okay? Unahin mo muna urine culture and sensitivity, and then pagkatapos kang nag-streak, pagkatapos kang nag-GS, dalhin mo na siya sa micro. Dalhin mo na siya sa CM pala, sorry. I-run mo na yung urine analysis, ganun po. Okay, anyway, and so dry, it should be dry. The collection container should be dry, leak-proof, leak-proof. Okay, it should be leak-proof. Okay, and so please note, dapat po, okay, and so, screw cap lids are preferred over snap-on. Okay, and so they are preferred over snap-on. And then they should be clear. Okay, the container should be clear to facilitate your the examination of the clarity, to facilitate observation of your clarity or the turbidity of your urine sample. Okay, it should be disposable. Should be disposable. Okay, and so according to yeah, according to Henry, it should okay, can either be glass or plastic. Okay, plastic or glass. Okay. And then yes, it has a wide mouthed that will of course the wide mouth will facilitate the collection of the urine, and of course you need a secure lid. Okay, again, screw cap po. And a wide flat bottom. Okay? And so, a 50 ml capacity for what they call this 50 ml capacity for routine urine analysis. 50 ml capacity for routine urine analysis. Okay, and so for ano na to? For 24-hour urine collection naman, 300 ml is 3,000, sorry. 3,000 ml again, so is the capacity of the container for 24-hour urine collection. Okay, and so sabi po natin dito, routine urine analysis, 50 ml. Okay, and so but then, ilan lang ba ang sinesentry natin, ang nilalagay natin sa test tube for centrifugation? We only need 10 to 15 ml. 10 to 15 ml. Pero bakit 50? Okay, pero bakit 50? 50 ml ang capacity. 50 ml is the capacity of your urine container. Okay, and yes, because this will account. Okay, and so this will account in case that you need a rerun, na kailangan mong mag-rerun. Okay, what if 10 or 15 ml lang ang binigay sa'yo, binigay sa lab? Of course, in case that you need to redo the testing, then uh, it will avoid hassle or inconvenience sa part nyo ng pasyente. Okay, kaya dapat as much as possible, pinapapuno po yung 50 ml na capacity. No? Madali lang naman mangolekta ng ihi. 'Di ba, hindi po mahirap. Anyway, okay, and so yes, we need 10 to 15 ml or an average of 12 ml for centrifugation to have a 0.5 to 1 ml sediment. Of course, okay, after centrifuge, magdedecant ka. You decant, and then at least 0.5 to 1 ml is retained. Okay, and then you mix, mix, mix. Mix, 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 and then you examine 20 microliters of sediment. You examine 20 microliters of the sediment. Okay? Hindi naman po kailangan na may that you need, hindi naman po kailangan na may ano na to, autopet sa tabi mo to measure the 20 microliters. Okay? Discarding medtech na lang po. Okay? Anyway, and yes, your labels, your patient's name and identification number. Okay, and so usually, patient's name and date and time of collection. Importante po ito, time of collection, date and time of collection. Patient's name and date and time of collection. At what part? What part of the urine container? At the body. Okay, sa body ka po maglagay ng label, not on the cap, not on the lid. These are your criteria or yes, criteria for sample rejection. Okay, and so unlabeled or improperly labeled specimens. Please note that when you reject a urine sample, when you reject a sample, paalala lang po, please inform them. Please inform. Please inform the patient kung siya mismo ang naghatid, if it is OPD, kung sila mismo ang naghatid, or if it is from the ward, you inform the ward if you reject the sample. Okay? And so in case of unlabeled or improperly labeled specimen, okay, and so talk to them. Okay, and so because at times, minsan makikibargain yung mga yan. Kakakolekta. Kasi at times ganito ang nangyayari. Kakakolekta ni pasyente, tapos dinala na agad sa'yo holding the request form. Kakakolekta niya, dinala niya agad sa'yo holding the request form at walang label. Okay? Of course, the first thing you need to do is to ask, Sir, ma'am, kanino pong ihi ito? Okay, kung sa akin, sinabi niya, then sir, paki-label po. Pakilagyan po ng pangalan sa body. Bigyan mo ng ballpen. Okay, and then you let them label. Okay, hindi porke walang label, ay, reject agad, recollect ka agad. No. No? Okay. At times, if ginawa po ng nurse, if nurse po ang gumawa, okay, you call them. Ma'am, sir, yung nababa po na ihe dito, wala pong label. Okay? Wala pong label. Ire-reject na po namin ito, ma'am. Kasi wala pong label. Minsan makiki-bargain po sila. Minsan po makiki-bargain ang mga taga-ward. Okay? Makiki-bargain sila at sasabihin, ay, kay ganito yan, kay patient ganito yan. Okay, wala lang label pero nakasama naman yung request form. Yun ang ganun ang sasabihin. If ganun po ang sinabi, okay, you let them label it. Okay, papuntahin mo sila sa lab and then you let them label. You let them attach a label to the urine specimen. Huwag na huwag mong gagawin na ikaw ang magsusulat ng pangalan if galing sa ward. Okay, pababain mo sila, i-request, "Ma'am, baba na lang po kayo, kayo na lang po ang maglagay ng label." Gano'n, okay. Anyway, non-matching labels and requisition forms, okay, these are criteria for rejection. But then again, please inform. If may ganito kayong na-receive from the ward, you inform the ward. Okay, kasi it will, what you call this, it will it will avoid, okay, and so, misinformation din. Baka mamaya naghihintay pala sila ng result tapos ni-reject mo pala. Hindi mo man lang sila in-inform, you inform them. Anyway, specimens contaminated with feces or toilet paper, if may laman na po sa loob, okay, inside, this, I mean, reject. Containers with contaminated exteriors, so specimens with insufficient quantity, kulang. Okay, kulang sa 10 ml, kulang sa 15 ml, or kahit kalahati man lang sana. Okay, you reject. You request, ma'am, dagdagan mo. Ganon. Ma'am, dagdagan mo na lang. If matanda naman yan, pakiusapan mo. You say, ma'am, sir, dagdagan mo naman. Dagdagan mo na lang po. Kasi kulang. Kasi, because in the real setting, may mga magsasubmit talaga ng kulang, pambasa man lang ng reagent strip. Okay? Usually, makikita nyo to sa cases ng this one, QNS, quantity not sufficient, sa cases ng mga bata. Okay? Sa cases ng bata. Okay? Ng mga infants, ganon. Okay? And so, but then, of course, careful consideration din sa mga bata. Okay, sa mga ganon na cases. Okay, and specimens that have been improperly transported. Okay, kunyari, sabi doon, it should be in ref temp. Tapos hindi pala naka-ref or hindi naka-chill. Okay, and so it will affect the result, of course. Anyway, your specimen handling. Please note that specimens must be sent to the laboratory and tested within 2 hours. Okay, and so somewhat from the sample collection, no, from sample collection up to 2 hours. Kaya dapat you should bring that one, that sample within 2 hours. Kunyari, okay, 3:30 dinala mo. 3:30 dinala mo yung ihi. Ay, 3:30 umihi ka. Dapat within 2 hours after 3:30 dapat nadala mo siya sa laboratory and be tested within 2 hours. Okay, it should be tested within 2 hours because there are changes that will take place if the urine is left unpreserved at room temperature. Parang ano din yan, parang sa context din ng ano ito ng histopath, in the context of histopath, in what we call this, in the context of histopath, okay, if a tissue is removed from the body, changes will occur. there are changes. Changes will occur. Same with urine naman. Okay, if it is removed from the body, there are changes that will take place. Anyway, and so yes, if it is not tested within 2 hours, then you refrigerate or you put preservative. Okay? Kasi physical, chemical, and microscopic characteristics of a urine specimen will begin to change as soon as the urine is voided. Okay? So you have your changes in an unpreserved urine sample. Unpreserved ha, after 2 hours po. After 2 hours. Okay, changes in an unpreserved urine after 2 hours. Okay, and so yes, you have your increased analytes here. You have your odor, your pH, your nitrite, and your bacteria. Your odor, okay, and so the normal odor of urine is aromatic. Aromatic po, hindi po ammoniacal. It's aromatic, okay? The odor, okay, and so is increased. Okay, and so the odor will become strong, parang ganon. Okay, and so increased odor or strong odor is observed in an unpreserved urine due to bacterial multiplication or bacterial breakdown of urea to ammonia. Okay, bacterial breakdown of urea to ammonia. Okay, and what will happen here? Okay, bacterial breakdown of your urea to ammonia. What will happen here? Of course, there will it will cause an increase in the ammonia levels, causing an ammoniacal odor. Ganun po siya, ha? Causing an ammoniacal odor. Okay? And then you have your increased pH. Your increased pH, this one is caused by, or the pH becomes alkaline. Okay, the pH becomes alkaline. Okay, and so your bacterial breakdown of urea to ammonia by urease producing bacteria will cause increase in the pH. Please note that your ammonia, it is alkaline in nature, and increased ammonia will increase the pH. Magiging alkaline po. It will increase the pH. By the way, pH, I mean, an alkaline pH, okay, so in water sa tubig, an alkaline pH sa water, okay, sa mga water, sa potable water, ganyan, may indicate bacterial growth. Okay, may indicate bacterial contamination. Alkaline pH in water may indicate bacterial growth or bacterial contamination. Hoy, pero hindi ha. Iba po yung pH 9 talaga na tubig na binebenta. Iba po yun. Because it is clean naman po yun. Okay? In general, okay, alkaline pH of water indicates bacterial contamination. Anyway, and then you have nitrite. Okay, and so, sorry, in context also to pH, okay, and so loss of carbon dioxide will cause an increase in the pH also. Loss of carbon dioxide will cause an increase in the pH. And then you have your nitrite. Nitrite, okay, and so there is an increase in nitrite due to multiplication of your nitrate producing bacteria. Okay. And then, of course, bacteria will increase due to bacterial multiplication. Okay? And you have your decreased analytes. You have your clarity. Okay? And so clarity, okay, okay, the clarity of the sample will decrease. Bakit? Okay, and so balikan po natin dito. Increased bacteria. Okay, increased bacteria will cause turbidity. 'Di ba? Okay, and so balikan niyo po sa micro. Okay, and so turbidity sa mga broth nyo, Okay, and so turbidity in your broth means there is bacterial multiplication. There is bacterial growth. Anyway, clarity, the decrease in clarity or increased in turbidity is caused by bacterial growth and the precipitation of amorphous material. Okay, precipitation of your amorphous material. Okay, your amorphous substances like uh, ano ba to? Amorphous substances like amorphous urates and amorphous phosphates. Ganon. Of course, you have changes in an still decreased analytes, glucose. Please note, it will decrease. Okay, and so because it is utilized by your microorganisms present, glucose, okay, and so it is decreased because of course it is utilized by your bacteria that is present in the urine in the sample or glycolysis. Okay, and so will cause a decrease in the glucose. Nagamit nga kasi siya. Anyway, your ketones, okay, is also decreased because due to volatilization and bacterial metabolism still. And then bilirubin is decreased due to photooxidation to biliverdin. Okay, and so your conjugated bilirubin po ha. Conjugated bilirubin po ang present sa ihi. Okay, conjugated bilirubin is decreased due to photooxidation to biliverdin. Okay, again, please note, conjugated bilirubin is, yeah, conjugated bilirubin kasi this is the water-soluble one, di ba? Anyway, okay, and so it is decreased due to photooxidation to biliverdin. And then your urobilinogen, okay, is decreased also due to oxidation to urobilin. And then your red cells, WBCs, and casts, okay, they will disintegrate in an alkaline environment. Okay, they will disintegrate. Mawawala po sila. Okay, and trichomonas, it will cause a loss of motility. It will cause a loss of motility. Okay, and so modified or darkened. The color of the urine in an unpreserved urine is darkened due to oxidation, probably oxidation or reduction of metabolites. In case there is bilirubin present, okay, it will be oxidized to biliverdin, giving you a darker color. Okay, and so but then of course, if it is absent, okay, you have other metabolites which are reduced and oxidized to produce a darkened urine color.
We will end here. Okay, this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, love often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you around.